What did we just witness in WWE? Roman Reigns was spotted signing a contract on last night's Monday Night Raw. Was he signing his retirement, or is he about to leave WWE for AEW? The lights inside the arena had dimmed hours ago, but one solitary figure remained beneath the rafters, Roman Reigns, still seated in the front row, staring at the empty ring as if willing it to speak. No chance. No cameras. No tribal chief persona. Just a man, stripped of armor, faith shaking, heart breaking, on the edge of a goodbye he never imagined making. Earlier that day, backstage in a private office far removed from production meetings and talent briefings, Roman had received news that shattered the core of everything he had built. Not a storyline. Not a scripted twist. This was real. And it hurt in a way even leukemia hadn't. A thin envelope, unmarked except for a hospital letterhead and a confidential stamp, sat on the table like a time bomb. Paul Heyman stood nearby, unusually quiet, eyes red. Roman opened the letter slowly, his fingers betraying a tremor no one had ever seen inside the squared circle. He read the first line. Then the second. By the third, his lips parted and his breath caught. A resurgence. A possible relapse. The same disease he had once conquered, leukemia, now shadowed him again. And this time, the doctors were blunt. Your immune system has weakened significantly. We urge immediate cessation of all high-contact activity. The risks are no longer manageable. The words played over in his head like an echo bouncing off every wall of his soul. Cessation. High contact. No longer manageable. In those 3 lines, the tribal chief was told to step down, not just from his role, but from the very identity he had spent years forging in blood, sweat, and sacrifice. He sat in silence for over 20 minutes, unable to form words. Paul placed a hand on his shoulder, saying nothing, just anchoring him. Roman, the face of this era, the indomitable champion who held an entire locker room on his back, was now face to face with the very mortality he once silenced in 2018. The decision, however, didn't come instantly. For Roman, the ring was more than performance, it was ritual. It was purpose. It was the thread holding together generations of legacy, from Alpha and Sika to the Usos, to Solo Sikoa, and now to his own children. Every bump, every promo, every war, it all meant something. He left the office and walked through the quiet corridors of the arena. The locker room was empty, save for a hoodie draped over a chair, and a half-drunk bottle of water. The ring crew outside were breaking down the set, oblivious to the storm behind those closed doors. Roman placed his fingertips against a locker door, and lingered. In a business of loud farewells and pyro, this one would be whispered in corridors and leaked through hushed phone calls. The first to find out wasn't WWE corporate. It wasn't even his own family. It was Seth Rollins. Roman called him late that night. The screen lit up with the name Roman, and Seth, groggy but alert, answered immediately. There was a pause. Then Roman's voice, distant, like he was trying to speak underwater. Hey, man. You up? Seth didn't answer at first, he just listened. Roman continued. I got my results back. It's not good. Silence. And then, a quiet, almost broken, it's back. Seth exhaled slowly. What do you need? Roman didn't say help. He didn't say a way out. All he said was, I need to figure out how to say goodbye. The next morning, WWE's Stamford offices were flooded with internal chatter. An emergency meeting was called by Triple H. Executives filed into a boardroom with scripts in hand, all of them irrelevant now. There would be no bloodline twist this week. No heel turn. No comeback angle. There would only be reality. Backstage at SmackDown, whispers turned into confirmation. Jimmy Uso was seen pacing, phone in hand, voice cracking. Jay locked himself in his dressing room. Solo stood with his head lowered, his usually unshakable posture faltering under the news. The Bloodline, once feared and untouchable, was imploding, not from betrayal, but from heartbreak. Meanwhile, Roman prepared his statement. Not for the press. Not even for the WWE universe. For his family. A handwritten letter sat in his lap as he sat at the head of his kitchen table at home. Galena, his wife, sat opposite him, holding his hand. On one side of the table sat his children, too young to fully understand the storm gathering around them, but old enough to feel its wind. He began writing, "To the ones I lead, and the ones who made me strong enough to lead." He paused, wiped a tear, and continued. "Life gave me a second chance once. I ran with it. I fought. I conquered. And I gave everything to the ring. But this time it's not about titles. It's not about legacy. It's about time I don't want to lose with all of you." Word of the letter reached Vince McMahon. An emergency clause in Roman's contract allowed him to step away immediately in case of medical crisis. No appearances. No scripts. No questions asked. But Roman refused to vanish. He wanted one final appearance. No storyline. No character. Just him. WWE began prepping a farewell segment. The production team drafted a script. Roman shredded it. "I'll speak from the heart," he said. And so they let him. When Friday night came, the crowd packed the arena, expecting a typical Bloodline segment. What they got was a single spotlight. A black hoodie. A microphone. Roman Reigns stood at the center of the ring, and the crowd erupted. But he didn't raise his hand. He didn't hold the belt. He didn't smile. He just stood there. Silent. Then he spoke. "I've fought battles in this ring. I've made enemies. I've made brothers. I've held gold. I've made history. But tonight, I'm not here as the tribal chief. I'm here as Joe." He paused. "A few years ago, I told the world I was battling leukemia. And the world lifted me up. You carried me through it. And I came back stronger." The crowd fell completely silent. But sometimes, strength doesn't mean holding on. Sometimes, strength is knowing when it's time to let go. Tears streamed down fans' faces. Paul Heyman stood at the entrance ramp, his hand over his heart. Even Solo Sikoa, ever stoic, looked visibly shaken. "I got some news," Roman continued, "and it's time for me to step away from WWE, for now. Maybe forever." A gasp rippled through the arena. "I don't know what happens next. I just know this. If I never step in this ring again, I want you to remember me not for the dominance, not for the titles, but for the fight." He lowered the mic. The crowd chanted, "Thank you, Roman." Over and over again. He stepped out of the ring, walked up the ramp slowly, and turned back one last time. Not to acknowledge the crowd. Not to raise a finger. Just to look. At everything he built. And everything he might now be leaving behind. Then he disappeared through the curtain. No music. No pyro. Just silence. The kind of silence that only happens when a dynasty ends. Backstage, the curtain closed behind him, but no one moved. A strange stillness blanketed gorilla position, the very place where legends are born and broken. Bruce Pritchard, clipboard clutched to his chest, looked away. Triple H stood in the corner, jaw clenched, watching the monitor even after the feed had cut. And Paul Heyman, who had spent years scripting the legacy of Roman Reigns, now stood wordless, eyes glistening, mouthing a silent prayer to no one in particular. Roman passed through them like a ghost, not stopping, not speaking, just nodding at those who mattered. A quiet reverence followed him, the kind of sacred silence normally reserved for funerals or farewells of men who don't return. As he walked down the hallway toward the private exit, the very air seemed to hum with what had just happened, something real in a world built on illusion. His locker room was empty. No cameras, no crew. Just his gear bag, a folded black vest, and a Bloodline armband carefully placed on the bench. He sat down, pulled off his boots one final time, and looked at the photo taped to his locker door, his family at ringside during his last WrestleMania. He stared at it. Then, gently, he took the armband from the bench, looked at the bold white letters, "We the Ones," and pressed it to his lips before setting it down beside the folded vest. Not tossed. Not dropped. Placed, like an offering. That was when Jey Uso walked in. "Yes," Jey started, voice cracking like a teenager again, not like the main event star he'd become. Roman didn't look up. He just asked, "You knew this day would come?" Jey nodded. "Not like this, though." Roman stood and hugged him. Not a wrestling hug, not a scripted embrace. A real one. The kind of hug that comes from years of blood, sweat, betrayal, forgiveness, and love too big to be explained with words. "I left it all in that ring," Roman whispered. "You gave more than that," Jey replied. "You gave us a reason." They stood there, just the two of them, the last sons of a dynasty now shaken to its core. Then Roman nodded toward the gear on the bench. "It's yours now," he said. "All of it." Jey's lips parted, unsure whether he was hearing the torch being passed or witnessing the end of an era that should never have ended this soon. Meanwhile, across the digital universe, news of Roman's farewell spread like wildfire. WWE's official Twitter posted a simple black square with the words, "Thank you, Tribal Chief." Within minutes, hashtags exploded, hashtag goodbye Roman, hashtag head of the table forever, hashtag thank you Roman, hashtag reign ends. The WWE app crashed. YouTube clips of his farewell went viral. Fan forums collapsed under traffic. But amidst the digital chaos, something quieter unfolded: grief. Real grief. The kind not for a character, but for a man fans had watched fight cancer, come back stronger, reinvent himself as the most dominant force of his era, and now, walk away. Across the industry, messages began pouring in. John Cena, from a film set in Europe, tweeted, "In a world full of noise, Roman Reigns spoke with presence. Thank you for everything. You changed the game." Seth Rollins, from his locker room on Raw, posted a black and white photo of the two from their Shield debut. No caption. Just a broken red heart emoji. The Rock, in a rare post without promotion, wrote, "Bloodline is forever. But sometimes, warriors have to rest. Love you, yes." Even former rivals chimed in. Cody Rhodes tweeted, "He was the mountain we all tried to climb. And he stood tall until the very end." Behind the scenes, WWE scrambled. Storylines collapsed. Main events were rewritten. WrestleMania plans shelved. Merchandise pulled or rebranded. PR managers held crisis meetings. Executives asked the same quiet question, what is WWE without Roman Reigns? But Roman wasn't asking that question. He had driven out of the arena, far from the chants and chaos, headed toward a private airstrip where a jet waited to take him home, to Galena, to the kids, to something that wasn't built in a ring. The flight was silent. He watched clouds drift beneath the wings. Not thinking about belts or streaks. Thinking about time, how little of it we're given and how much we waste pretending we have more. When he arrived in California, it was almost sunrise. The kids were still asleep. Galena was waiting, eyes swollen from tears she hadn't let him see over FaceTime. He dropped his bag at the door. She opened her arms. And the man who had once stood atop the wrestling world fell into them, not as the tribal chief, not as Roman Reigns. Just as Joe. Later that morning, he sat on the back porch, coffee untouched, and pulled out his phone. A text from Vince McMahon waited unread. "Your spot is always here. Rest. When you're ready, if you're ever ready, the door is open." He didn't reply. Another message. From Paul Heyman. "I told you the wise man would follow you until the end. This isn't the end. Just the pause." Still, Roman didn't respond. Instead, he opened his notes app and began typing. Not for the public. Not for WWE. For himself. I never asked to lead. I never asked to carry the company. But I did. And I did it with pride. I did it with pain. I did it for my family. But now, for once in my life, I have to choose me. He saved it. Locked the screen. Closed his eyes. And for the first time in years, the world didn't demand anything from him. No promos. No appearances. No bloodline to uphold. Just peace. But peace can be loud too. In the weeks that followed, WWE's ratings dipped. The company aired a special tribute. Reign, The Legacy of Roman, a 2-hour documentary chronicling his rise, fall, and departure. Viewers across the world wept. Legends narrated. Young talent cried in confessionals. The screen faded to black with 5 words etched in silence: acknowledge, appreciate, and let go. At house shows, fans still chant his name. At arenas, his music sometimes plays in pre-show montages. The shadow of the tribal chief still looms. Because when a king leaves his throne, the castle remembers. And yet, the story doesn't feel finished. It lingers. In every spear, in every ooh-ah chant, in every raised finger. A question unanswered. A silence too thick to be final. Is this truly goodbye? Or just a pause before the loudest return in WWE history? Only Roman Reigns knows the answer. And he's not speaking. Yet. 2 weeks passed, and still, no word from Roman Reigns. Not a post. Not a statement. Not even a silent nod from his once dominant Twitter presence. Fans scoured the internet for clues, blurred photos of him leaving a California coffee shop, whispered rumors of meetings with leukemia specialists, a single cryptic Instagram story showing a beach sunrise, captioned simply, "Perspective." Inside WWE headquarters, the silence was deafening. Triple H convened a creative war room to reorient the company's future. A whiteboard once plastered with Roman-centric arcs: Bloodline versus Cody Rhodes, Reigns versus Gunther at WrestleMania, Solo Sikoa's Rebellion, was wiped clean. In its place, question marks, tentative titles, emergency plans. But replacing a monarch isn't so simple. The locker room had changed. Superstars walked quieter. Solo, once the silent enforcer, now isolated himself entirely, training harder, speaking less. Jey Uso tried to rally the troops, cutting promos that didn't feel like promos anymore. They felt like tributes. Paul Heyman vanished from TV. He didn't appear on Raw. Didn't show at SmackDown. Sources whispered that he had flown to California unannounced. That he'd shown up at Roman's front gate, dressed in black, holding a document. A letter from WWE offering full-time commentary work. Paul wasn't there to pitch business. He was there to say goodbye. The meeting lasted an hour. Neither man ever disclosed what was said. But one source said they hugged at the end. And Paul left with tears on his collar. Meanwhile, WWE marketing was faced with an impossible decision: continue selling We the One's gear, or pull it entirely? In the end, they released a final line: "Farewell, Chief." It sold out in 6 hours. But for Roman, time had slowed. He spent his days hiking the Pacific cliffs with his sons, running barefoot across the sand with his daughter on his shoulders. The man who once ruled with presence was now seeking absence. But every night, he still watched. He watched Raw, SmackDown, even NXT. He studied the reactions, the promos, the holes left in every narrative. He saw Cody rise. He saw Solo rage. He saw Seth step back into the light. And deep down, something stirred. Not ego. Not nostalgia. Duty. He still felt tethered to the ring. Not out of ambition, but responsibility. As if his final chapter had been ripped from his hands before he could write the ending himself. Then came the night that changed everything. A fan event in Chicago. A Make-A-Wish presentation. WWE staff expected a short video message from Roman to be played, just his voice over a montage. But what they got was a live appearance. No one knew. Not even the crew. As the young fan sat on stage beside Triple H, the lights dimmed. A spotlight hit the ramp. And there he was. Roman Reigns. In a simple black hoodie, jeans, and no music. The audience gasped. Some screamed. Others just wept. He walked up slowly, knelt beside the child, placed his hand over theirs, and whispered something only they heard. Then he stood, looked out at the stunned crowd, and said just one sentence, "This isn't about titles. This is about people." Then he turned and walked away. No speech. No acknowledgement gesture. No tease of return. But WWE exploded. That 30-second appearance became the most shared video in WWE social media history within 3 hours. Twitter collapsed under hashtags like #HeCameBack and #RomanStillReigns. Podcasts, news outlets, and mainstream media questioned, was this a cameo, or a signal? Backstage, even Triple H didn't know. He hadn't planned it. No one had. Roman had walked in, made his moment, and disappeared again. The next morning, Galena found him in the kitchen, watching footage of his old Shield matches. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. She placed a cup of coffee beside him and simply asked, "Is your goodbye really final?" He looked up. Eyes wet. Jaw set. And said, "Not yet." That evening, WWE Corporate received a one-line email. Subject, future status body, I'll be at WrestleMania. One night only. No script. The office froze. Phones rang. Writers panicked. But the instruction stood, no script. That night, Paul Heyman re-emerged at SmackDown. He walked to the ring without a mic. Without a promo. Just a blank expression. And he placed something in the center of the ring. Roman's black armband. The screen faded to black with 4 words, "He's not finished yet." And across the wrestling world, every eye turned toward WrestleMania. One night. No script. And the tribal chief, returning not for war, but for closure. WrestleMania. The grandest stage of them all. A place where legends are born, where careers culminate, and sometimes, where ghosts return. The crowd was already on its feet. Not because of a match. Not because of an entrance. But because the lights had dimmed for the 3rd time that night, and everyone knew what that meant. The screen above the stadium flickered. A heartbeat. Then another. The visual faded into slow-motion clips, Roman Reigns spearing Brock Lesnar. Roman holding both titles aloft. Roman, bloodied but unbroken, standing over Drew McIntyre in Cardiff. Then silence. A single phrase appeared in white letters on the Jumbotron, no longer the tribal chief. Tonight, just a man. Then it hit. The music. Not his usual theme. Not the thunderous head-of-the-table track that had defined an era. This was stripped down. Slower. A haunting orchestral remix of his classic Shield theme, elegant, powerful, tragic. The stadium came unglued. Out walked Roman Reigns. Not in gear. No golden glove. No vest. Just Roman. Black shirt. Black pants. One bandage wrapped around his wrist. One dog tag around his neck. And eyes, hollow, yet focused. He wasn't here to fight. He was here to finish. He walked the ramp slowly. Every few steps, he looked around, taking it in. The cheers. The tears. The thousands of signs that read, "One last reign. We believe in Roman." "Thank you, Chief." He stepped into the ring, no pyro, no announcement, no Paul Heyman at his side. Just Roman, in the center of the ring, soaking in the moment that might be his last. Then, the lights flickered again. And out came Solo Sikoa. He didn't storm. He didn't attack. He walked. Behind him, Jey Uso. Then Jimmy. Then, shockingly, Seth Rollins, still wearing the World Heavyweight Championship around his waist. Then Cody Rhodes, arms crossed, watching carefully. 5 men. No beef. No storyline. Just respect. They surrounded the ring, not to attack, but to witness. Roman raised the mic, finally ready to speak. There was a time, he said, voice steady but strained, when I believed nothing could stop me. No man. No disease. No God. I thought this ring was mine. I made it mine. The crowd listened in near silence, every syllable feeling like a goodbye etched in stone. But the truth is, time stops us all. Sooner or later, the roar fades. The lights dim. The blood dries. He turned toward the entrance ramp. I didn't come here tonight to ask for anything. No forgiveness. No redemption. No comeback. He looked at Cody. You won. You earned that. I'm proud of you. Then at Seth. We were boys. Then brothers. Then rivals. And now. I see you leading the way. Then to Jey, Jimmy, and Solo. You carried my name. You bled for me. You believed in me. And when I couldn't lead anymore, you stepped up. Roman lowered the mic for a beat. Then looked at the fans. This isn't an announcement. It's not a press release. It's a confession. The crowd held its breath. I'm scared. The entire stadium went silent. I'm scared that when I walk away, I won't matter anymore. That I'll just become a footnote. That my kids will only know the tribal chief through YouTube clips. He paused again, voice cracking. But I also know this, I gave everything. And I'd do it again. He turned, slowly removed the dog tag from around his neck. The same one he wore during his leukemia battle, and placed it in the center of the ring. This stays here. My fight stays here. My soul stays here. He turned to leave. Then stopped. One final time, he raised his hand, index finger pointed to the sky. Not to ask for acknowledgement. But to give it. To the fans. To the locker room. To the legacy. The crowd thundered, we the ones. We the ones. We the ones. Roman walked up the ramp, and as he reached the top, he turned back, one last look. On the Jumbotron, a final phrase appeared, Roman Reigns, 2012 to forever. He disappeared through the curtain. And WrestleMania paused. Not because a match was about to begin. But because an era had just ended. And though the tribal chief may be gone, the reign will echo forever. In the weeks following WrestleMania, the WWE landscape felt different. It wasn't just the absence of Roman Reigns, it was the void he left behind. A silence that echoed through every locker room, every backstage interview, every main event segment that now had no gravitational center. The WWE Universe felt it first. Monday Night Raw opened with a 10-bell salute, not for the passing of a man, but the passing of an era. No commentary. No graphics. Just Roman's vest and armband placed in the center of the ring, under a single spotlight. The crowd stood. Grown men cried. The Titantron faded in with a quote from Paul Heyman. He didn't leave the island of relevancy, he built it. SmackDown followed with a different kind of tribute. Paul Heyman returned, not with the swagger of a wise man, but the restraint of a grieving brother. No promo. No manipulation. Just Heyman holding a folded Samoan lei, which he laid across the commentary table before walking away in silence. But while some were mourning, others were moving. Solo Sikoa took the silence as permission. He returned to SmackDown with no entrance music. He walked to the ring, looked straight into the camera, and said, "The bloodline isn't dead. It's mine now." The crowd erupted. Paul Heyman, watching from the shadows, did not flinch. He said nothing. But insiders noticed something important. He didn't stop Solo. Backstage, the lines began to form. Jey Uso stood divided. Cody Rhodes, now the top babyface in the company, felt the sudden weight of being the only main event star not tainted by tribal allegiances. And Seth Rollins? He knew this was a vacuum. A power vacuum. And in WWE, power vacuums don't stay empty long. The first to step up was Gunther. Still Intercontinental Champion. Still untouched. Still dominant. In a quiet sit-down interview with Michael Cole, Gunther didn't mince words. Roman Reigns ruled with emotion. That's why he fell. I rule with discipline. That's why I endure. The statement ignited speculation. Was Gunther the next face of WWE? Or was he simply capitalizing on the silence? Then came the unthinkable. A letter. Leaked by Fightful Select. Addressed from Roman Reigns to the WWE locker room. Not public. Not official. But undeniably real. To those who step into the ring every night and carry this industry forward, thank you. If you're reading this, you're not just a performer. You're family. I've led with pride, and I've made mistakes with pride. But make no mistake, the WWE is in your hands now. Protect it. Build it. And when the time comes, I'll be watching. Always. Joe, the letter went viral. Locker room morale surged. But not everyone was inspired. Some were threatened. AJ Styles, in a backstage exclusive, mocked the letter. He ruled from the throne too long. Now he wants to play Ghost King? Sorry, Roman. This is a war zone. Not a retirement home. The comment drew fire. Online. Backstage. Even from veterans. But Styles didn't back down. In fact, he announced something unexpected, a call-out. He challenged Solo Sikoa to a match at Backlash. No stipulation. No interference. Just power versus power. And Solo accepted, with one sentence, "You're not facing me. You're facing my blood." As Backlash approached, the tension rose. Seth Rollins versus Gunther was being teased for SummerSlam. Cody Rhodes continued to defend the undisputed championship, but with every title match, there was a sense of waiting. Waiting for the curtain to pull back. Waiting for that music to hit again. Waiting for Roman. But he didn't return. Instead, rumors swirled of a documentary deal with Netflix, chronicling his final days in WWE. A crew had allegedly followed him from the moment he received his diagnosis to his last match. The working title? Reign, The Farewell. No release date. No trailer. Just a cryptic teaser image, Roman alone in the ring, with the caption, "One last battle, against time." The company leaned into it. T-shirts read, "The island misses its chief." VIP experience packages now included Roman's Legacy Tour highlights. A statue was unveiled at WWE HQ, Roman, hand raised, finger pointed skyward, forever frozen in acknowledgement. And still, fans waited. Until a house show in San Diego. No cameras. No press. And then, out of nowhere, during a tag match gone wrong. The lights cut out. The crowd stirred. Silence. Then a single phrase echoed from the speakers, "Believe in the bloodline." The arena erupted. But Roman never appeared. Just a message flashed on the screen, "Every end starts something new." And in that moment, the world realized, Roman Reigns may have said goodbye. But his story was far from over. A wide, slow-motion shot of the empty WWE ring. The rope sag ever so slightly, the canvas bears the faint scuff marks of battles past. The lights are dimmed, and the once thunderous arena is silent. A narrator's voice enters, calm but solemn, for the first time in nearly 4 years. The tribal chief did not show up. Cut to a quiet Paul Heyman backstage, alone in a makeup room, holding a white towel. He looks into the mirror, not adjusting his tie, not preparing for television, but reflecting. A producer off-camera whispers, "We're ready." Paul doesn't answer. His fingers tighten around the towel. Then, cut to aerial footage of Stamford, Connecticut. Voiceover continues, inside WWE headquarters, the fallout had already begun. Creative meetings halted. Title plans erased. Merchandise campaigns cancelled. Roman Reigns' absence was no longer just a personal decision, it was a company crisis. Cut to a closed-door boardroom. White boards have only one word written on them in capital letters, restructure. With the head of the table gone, the table itself shook. Smash cut to Seth Rollins doing media rounds. Cody Rhodes walking backstage, glancing over his shoulder at an empty locker room stall. Solo Sikoa, seated in silence inside the performance center, pounding his fist against the mat in a training ring. Then, cut to the locker room footage from the morning after WrestleMania. Jey Uso, hoodie pulled tight, quietly removing Roman's nameplate from the locker. He doesn't speak. He simply places it inside a black velvet box. Over that moment, the narrator says, it wasn't a retirement. There was no press release. No planned farewell tour. Roman Reigns didn't ask to be remembered. He simply vanished. We now cut to handheld footage, unpolished, raw. It's a WWE staffer capturing unscripted reactions at the post-Mania talent meeting. Triple H stands before the roster. He's gone. And I don't know when, if, he's coming back. A voice from the back, is it real this time? Triple H nods. He told me backstage. No more character. Just Joe now. Cut to a montage of fan reactions from around the world. A tattoo artist inks the phrase "Acknowledge me" on a fan's arm in London. A mural of Roman is painted on a wall in Tokyo. A father and son watch Roman's last match together in silence on their TV, wiping tears as the screen fades. Voiceover: Roman Reigns was more than a performer. He was a cultural symbol, a modern gladiator battling not just opponents, but disease, expectations, and legacy itself. And now, the throne sits empty. And the war for it begins. Cut to Solo Sikoa walking down a dim hallway. The camera follows tightly behind him. Seth Rollins training in isolation, hitting a heavy bag with precision. Cody Rhodes tying his boots in front of a mirror, then whispering, "He'll be back." Narrator: but in war, there are no guarantees. Only chaos. And choices. Final shot of the episode, a drone camera ascends slowly above an empty Roman Reigns training ring at his private California gym. The sunlight is hitting the apron just as the wind causes the ring ropes to sway. One thing lies in the center. A folded vest. On top of it, his black glove. And underneath? A sealed envelope. Fade to black. Next episode tease, next week. Solo Sikoa breaks his silence. For the first time, the enforcer speaks on Roman's exit, the future of the Bloodline, and the war he's about to start. End credits roll over soft piano music, an instrumental version of Roman's theme slowed to near ambient pace. The screen is black. Then, the faint sound of punching, measured, rhythmic, relentless. One punch. Then another. Then silence. A title card appears, 6 days after WrestleMania. Cut to grainy footage, Solo Sikoa in a dim training facility. Shirtless. Wrists taped. Eyes focused. He's striking a hanging heavy bag that already bears the torn seams of exhaustion. No entourage. No camera crew. Just one fixed lens, close, invasive. Voiceover begins. He was Roman's shadow. The one who never spoke. The one who did what others couldn't. But now the silence is over. Cut to a tight close-up of Solo Sikoa, seated on a bench in the same room. Sweat still dripping. He stares off camera, jaw clenched. Then, finally, he speaks. "You want to know how I feel?" He pauses. "I feel betrayed." Cut to footage from SmackDown, Solo walking to the ring with a different aura, heavier, colder. They say Roman walked away for his health. But he didn't walk away from us. He walked away from me. From this bloodline. From what we built. Cut to flashes of Solo's rise. His debut at Clash at the Castle. The moment he spiked Matt Riddle into silence. His war with Kevin Owens. Roman placing a hand on his shoulder backstage. Now those moments feel different. Voiceover, behind the Brotherhood was a hierarchy. And Solo Sikoa was never just an enforcer, he was the insurance policy. The hammer behind the crown. But when the king left, the hammer shattered. Cut to an emotional sit-down with Jimmy Uso. He's hesitant. Swallows hard. He don't talk much. But when Roman left, something snapped in him. He didn't cry. Didn't yell. He just changed. Then, Solo looked me in the eye and said, "We ain't following no more. We're taking." Cut back to Solo, seated alone. They all mourned Roman. I didn't. He left us weak. He left us with enemies. Enemies he made. Smash cut to clips, Cody Rhodes on Raw, holding his championship. Seth Rollins speaking at a press junket, smirking. The head of the table stepped down. That means the house is open. Gunther speaking in German accented English. Roman was a general. But I am a machine. Cut to Solo again. I'm not here to mourn. I'm here to conquer. Footage rolls from last Friday's SmackDown. Solo Sikoa in the main event, his aggression turned up, his rage unmistakable. He uses Roman's old spear. He plants a hand to the mat the way Roman used to. But it doesn't feel like tribute. It feels like theft. Cut to WWE executives talking off record. He's not doing this to honor Roman. He's doing this to erase him. Then, the game-changing moment. Unseen footage from a WWE live event in Albany. Solo stands in the center of the ring after his match. He takes the mic, a rare occurrence, and says one sentence, "There is no tribal chief. Not anymore." The crowd boos. Some cheer. But backstage? Panic. Cut to Triple H in a post-show interview. "We're letting this story unfold naturally. But Solo's taken control of a narrative no one expected. Not even us." Back in the training room, Solo Sikoa rises from the bench. He walks toward a steel locker. On the door, there's a taped photo of Roman and the entire bloodline from 2023, Roman at the center, title belts draped across both shoulders. Solo rips it off. Stares at it. Then shreds it in two. This bloodline? He looks into the camera. "It belongs to me now." Black screen. Narrator returns. As Solo Sikoa claims the island for himself, the true test begins. But someone is watching. Quietly. Preparing. Cut to a mystery shot, security footage from a private gym. Blurred figure, black hoodie, working in silence. The image glitches before we can confirm the identity. One line appears on screen, "He never left." Next episode tease, Episode 3, The Phantom Watcher, rumors of the return. End credits roll with a distorted instrumental version of Roman's entrance music, barely recognizable, slowed, warped. A buzzing fluorescent light flickers in a forgotten WWE storage room. Boxes labeled Tribal Chief Merchandise, Archive Only are stacked high, sealed, untouched. A gloved hand enters the frame and removes one of the boxes from the shelf. The camera zooms in. It's a pair of black boots, still polished. Still his. Voiceover begins, slow and calculated. They say legends never die. But sometimes, they just vanish. And when they do, the world starts looking for ghosts. Cut to a grainy aerial drone shot, a figure jogging along a secluded beach in California at dawn. The footage is distant. No facial recognition. But the body language, unmistakable. Since WrestleMania, the world has waited. And now, it begins again. Not with an announcement. Not with fireworks. But with whispers. On-screen text appears, May 10th, undisclosed location, California, security camera footage. A luxury SUV pulls up to a private gym. The timestamp is real. The man who steps out wears a hoodie, sunglasses, baseball cap pulled low. But as he swipes a keycard to enter the facility, the door bears a symbol. A gold tribal insignia. Roman Reigns' crest. Cut to black. Then we hear Paul Heyman's voice, recorded quietly during a podcast appearance. If he wanted to come back, not one of us would see it coming. Not even me. Cut to WWE headquarters. A confidential email is leaked. Subject line, asset reevaluation, R. Reigns, media hold pending. Corporate footage of marketing teams huddled around a digital board. A line graph shows WWE social engagement spiking, without Roman even being active. One executive leans forward, we haven't heard from him. But they haven't stopped chanting his name. Quick flashes, fans at SmackDown chanting, we want Roman during Cody Rhodes' promo. Signs that read the island still belongs to him. Wrestlers backstage watching old Reigns matches on monitors, silent. Cut to Seth Rollins in a one-on-one interview. He smiles softly, but there's tension behind his eyes. Roman's smarter than people think. This isn't about cancer. This isn't about legacy. This is chess. The interviewer asks, do you think he's planning something? Seth leans back. I think he never stopped. Then, the tease. Cut to backstage at a recent WWE Raw taping. Camera footage, shot in secret, catches a production staffer holding a document marked, confidential, Reigns return package, do not print. The camera zooms in. We see just 3 bullet points, final form attire. Darker aesthetic solo confrontation, TBD no entrance music, silence only. Cut to a backstage segment airing later that night on Raw. Cody Rhodes is walking the hallway. He pauses. Something's wrong. He hears breathing. Heavy. Familiar. He turns a corner. Nothing. Just darkness. The camera lingers, and then captures a symbol scratched into the wall. A single raised finger. Crude. Etched deep. Cut to a private WWE therapy session, reportedly leaked from a court-mandated wellness check. The transcript flashes on screen in segments. He says he's not done. He feels replaced. He's watching. He said, the island forgot its chief. Now the tide's returning. Cut to a quote posted mysteriously on WWE.com, then quickly deleted. Power isn't taken. It's reclaimed. A heartbeat thumps. Then another. Then silence. The screen cuts to black, and a final message fades in, Reigns. June 30th, 25, unannounced. The episode ends. Next episode tease, Episode 4, Civil War. Solo Sikoa declares himself tribal chief on national television and credits roll over the low hum of distorted crowd chants, played in reverse. A shot of the WWE Performance Center, sunlight pouring through its tinted glass. Inside, a solitary figure is standing in the main ring. It's Solo Sikoa. Not training. Not fighting. Waiting. The narrator's voice drops in, hushed and grave, the throne was never supposed to be vacant. But once Roman walked away, a vacuum opened. And power doesn't stay unclaimed for long. Cut to black. Then a thunderous voice, I am the tribal chief now. Boom, SmackDown footage slams onto the screen. Solo Sikoa, in the middle of the ring, hair soaked, chest heaving, just after decimating AJ Styles in the main event. The audience is stunned. Commentary silent. And Solo lifts a single finger to the sky. But this time, the gesture feels different. Not tribute. Not tradition. A challenge. Cut to a rapid montage. Paul Heyman, backstage, pacing furiously. Jey Uso sitting alone, arms crossed, whispering, "This ain't right." Michael Cole reacting live, did Solo just declare himself the next tribal chief? Seth Rollins watching from a monitor backstage, smirking. Voiceover continues, it wasn't a coronation. It was a coup. And with Roman gone, no one was left to stop it. Cut to private security footage from that night. Solo in the locker room, taping his fists. Paul Heyman enters. There's no audio, just raw body language. Paul pleads. Solo stands. Doesn't blink. Heyman exits. Alone. Then, footage from inside WWE Creative. Producers stare at a whiteboard labeled Post-Roman Power Map. One writer says, we have two options. Crown Solo. Or stop him. A pause. Then Triple H, let him rise. It'll make the fall even louder. Cut to Cody Rhodes being interviewed on a red carpet. Tribal chief? Solo? Look, I respect the bloodline lineage, but names don't make leaders. Actions do. And right now? That action screams desperation. Then, to Gunther and his training facility, staring down the lens. WWE does not belong to tribes. It belongs to generals. And finally, Jey Uso. Sitting quietly at home. Camera unpolished. Raw. Solo's like lava. You can't reason with lava. You either ride it, or get burned. Cut back to Solo at the center of the ring, raising his finger again as the crowd erupts with mixed emotions, cheers, boos, confusion. Over his head, for the first time in WWE programming, a new graphic, Sikoa, Tribal Ascension, the Bloodline logo beneath it, missing Roman's crest. Voiceover, with one line, Solo Sikoa did more than declare war on the roster. He declared war on memory. On history. On the very idea that Roman Reigns still mattered. Then, the power shift begins. Backstage clips show wrestlers falling into line, some willingly, some out of fear. Tama Tonga joins Solo on SmackDown. Jacob Fatu debuts the week after, destroying Ricochet. A new faction is teased, the Red Sand, a raw, more vicious iteration of the Bloodline. Narrator, no suits. No gold gloves. No wise men. Just fury. Untamed. Unapologetic. Uncontested. Then, suddenly, a leak. Phone footage captured by a fan outside the WWE hotel in Philadelphia. Paul Heyman. Alone. Phone to his ear. He says just one thing, he's going too far, my tribal chief. The fan gasps. The internet explodes. My tribal chief. Roman. Is. Still. Watching. Cut to Solo's reaction in a backstage exclusive the following week. He throws a monitor across the room. I'm not his little soldier anymore. I'm the one now. You hear me, Roman? I'm the one. Cut to black. Then, a single screen line. July 12th, WrestleMania, Summer Era announcement, a new war begins. Final moment, the Bloodline locker room. A new armband. But this one doesn't say we the ones. It says, I am the one. Cut to black. Next episode tease, Episode 5, The Letter, Roman's private response leaked to WWE headquarters. End credits roll. Background audio plays a faint heartbeat, then a single line of distorted dialogue, he's coming. A courier drops an unmarked envelope on a receptionist's desk inside WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut. The camera zooms in on the name scribbled on the front, to Triple H Confidential. No return address. No stamps. Just one black wax seal, the unmistakable symbol of Roman Reigns' tribal crest. Voiceover cuts in, hushed, ominous, he hadn't spoken in weeks. No statement. No tweets. Not even a denial. But then, in the quiet halls of WWE corporate, the silence broke. Cut to a dramatized reenactment of WWE security footage, Triple H opening the letter behind closed doors, flanked by two executives. His expression is unreadable. But the moment he finishes reading, he stands, leaves the room, and locks the document in a secure vault. But it was already too late. The letter was leaked. To Fightful. To ESPN. To the Bloodline locker room. And by the next morning, it was everywhere. The narrator continues, it wasn't a promo. It wasn't a press release. It was a reckoning. Cut to the full contents of the letter, now laid across the screen. Roman's words narrated slowly by a deep, steady voice, I left not because I was weak. I left because I had nothing left to prove. But what I built with purpose. With blood. And now I watch men I once called family wear my crown like it was theirs to take. To Solo Sikoa, you are not the one. You were the hammer. A weapon. Don't confuse fear with respect. To the WWE Universe. You were never sheep. You were believers. And I never stopped believing in you. This is not a return letter. This is a warning. The island doesn't belong to anyone, until I say it does. Cut to chaos across the WWE landscape, Paul Heyman slamming his fist on a table backstage. Solo Sikoa screaming into a camera, you wanna send letters? I'll send bodies. Jey Uso clutching the printed letter, saying softly, he's still in it, he never really left. Cody Rhodes pacing during a production meeting, saying, do we pause? Or do we push? Seth Rollins smirking, murmuring, he's playing chess. But he forgot. I've always been the architect. The camera transitions to social media warfare. Roman's phrase, you were the hammer, goes viral, quoted in memes, TikToks, ESPN interviews. But deeper inside WWE, the letter causes something else, division. Triple H convenes a leadership meeting. Footage from that meeting plays, Roman's not back. But we can't pretend he's gone either. If he wants the island back, we need to decide now, do we fight him? Or do we prepare for the return? An assistant hands him a second sealed document. Inside? A match proposal. Unscheduled. No date. No event listed. Just a line at the top, the one versus the Chief. Underneath? Roman's signature. Narrator, no music. No pyro. No entrance. Just a signature. Roman Reigns had just challenged Solo Sikoa. Without saying a single word out loud. Cut to Solo on SmackDown, fuming, throwing chairs, tearing down posters of Roman in the hallway. He grabs a mic mid-show and declares, you want this? You come get it. But I'm not waiting for you, yes. I'm building a kingdom. One you'll have to burn down. The screen cuts to a dim-lit gym. A shadow moves through the ring ropes. Training in silence. Heavy bag. Spear drills. Jump squats. The face isn't shown. But the glove is unmistakable. It's him. Paul Heyman receiving a phone call backstage. He answers with one word, my tribal chief? Cut to black. Next episode tease, episode 6, Broken Brotherhood, Jey Uso confronts Solo after the letter. End credits play over the slow, echoing thud of a heartbeat, fading into a single whisper, war is coming. The camera follows Jey Uso from behind, hood up, eyes forward, walking slowly toward the Bloodline locker room. The silence is thick. Only the sound of his sneakers against the floor and the faint echo of crowd noise somewhere far away. Voiceover fades in. Before the war starts, comes the confrontation that no one wanted, but everyone expected. Cut to black and white flashbacks. Roman hugging Jay after their Hell in a Cell match in 2020. Solo debuting to save Roman at Clash at the Castle. All of them standing together with their fingers raised, united under one oath, we the ones. Then, that unity cracks. We see Solo ripping Roman's portrait off the locker room wall. We see the leaked letter. We see Solo declaring himself the tribal chief. And now, we see Jay about to confront the brother who forgot what family means. Cut to inside the locker room. Solo Sikoa sits on the bench, wrapping his fists. He's quiet. Unshaken. Jay enters. Closes the door behind him. No crew. No security. Just blood. Jay, softly, so that's it? You just take the crown, like he never existed? Solo doesn't look up. He keeps taping. Solo, he left it. I picked it up. Jay, you picked it up? Or you stole it? Silence. Jay, stepping closer, you think you're the chief? Just 'cause you yell louder now? 'Cause you beat down a few lightweights on SmackDown? Solo, calmly, I didn't ask you to understand. I told you to follow. Jay scoffs. Jay, follow? Yes, you're lost. Solo, no. I'm free. Tension builds. The camera cuts between both men, once inseparable. Now standing on opposite ends of an invisible line drawn in the sand. Then Jay lowers his hood. His eyes aren't angry. They're broken. Jay, you wanna lead? Fine. But don't do it in his name. You don't wear that crown. You borrowed it. Solo finally stands. He's taller than Jay now. He's heavier. More dangerous. Solo, coldly, he's gone. Jay, quietly, not from me. Then Jay steps forward and gently places something on the bench. It's his own armband. The one that reads, we the ones. Jay. You can keep the crown. I'll keep the truth. He turns and walks out. Solo stares at the armband. Doesn't touch it. Doesn't throw it. Just feels it, as if the weight of what he's done is beginning to settle. Voiceover resumes. In the empire built on blood and pride, the first cracks have formed. Jey Uso, once Roman's right hand, now walks alone. And Solo? He's surrounded by power, but no longer by family. Cut to Jay later that night. Walking out of the arena. Bag over his shoulder. Alone. Paparazzi call to him. Jay. Is the bloodline finished? Are you turning on Solo? Will Roman come back? He says nothing. But right before he gets in the car, he stops and stares into the lens of one camera. Jay, ask Solo what happens when blood forgets love. Slam. Door shuts. He's gone. Cut to Solo that same night. In the ring. Alone. His music plays. But the crowd? They chant one thing. Roman. 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 And for the first time, Solo flinches. Final moment. Paul Heyman receives a photo in his inbox. No message. No subject line. Just an image. Roman Reigns, standing in front of a mirror, with the word 1 painted across his chest in red. The timestamp? 2 days from now. The narrator closes, the chief may be gone. But the war just got personal. And now, it's not about the crown, it's about who remembers him best.